Hi, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to discuss June 2022 Mechanics 1, question number 7. So two small children, Ajas and Beth, are running a 100-meter race along a straight horizontal track. They both start from rest. So here, Ajas and Beth, they both start from rest means their initial velocity is 0 meter per second. Now, leaving the start line at the same time, Ajas accelerates at 0.8 meter per second. So acceleration of Ajas is given as 0.8 up to a speed of 4 meter per second. So the final velocity is 4 meter per second, and then maintains this speed until he crosses the finishing line. So what we can find out here is that Ajas is maintaining 4 meter per second until he crosses the finishing line. So let's, from initial velocity 0 to reach final velocity 4 meter per second, what is the time taken by Ajas? We know the formula V is equals to U plus A T. Now V is 4, U is 0, plus acceleration is given as 0.8 into T. This is basically 4 divided by 0.8 will be the time taken by Ajas to reach the velocity 4 meter per second. So T will be 4 divided by 0.8 is 5 seconds. Now, after this, after reaching velocity as 4 meter per second, he is going to continue, he is going to maintain the same speed until he crosses the finish line. So let's find out the distance traveled by Ajas during the first 5 seconds. So the distance traveled by Ajas during the first 5 seconds, we can use the formula S is equals to ut plus half a t square. So velocity, initial velocity u is 0, so S is equals to basically half of a. A is 0.8 into time is 5 square is 25. So 25 into 0.8 divide by 2 will give you the answer as 10 meter. 10 meter. So Ajas traveled 10 meter during the initial 5 second, where his initial velocity was 0 and then his final velocity was 4 meter per second. Now after this, what's happening? Ajas is going to maintain this velocity until he crosses the finish line. So after 10 meter, the distance for the second part of the journey, is basically from 100, it's an 100-meter running race track. So minus 10, which will give you 90 meter. So he has to cover this 90 meter, and then he is maintaining the velocity as 4 meter per second. We can find out the time taken by Ajas to cover the remaining 90 meter. Distance is speed time. So time is equals to distance by speed. So here the distance is 90 meter and the speed is given as 4 meter per second. So 90 divided by 4 is 22.5 seconds, 22.5 seconds. So now the time taken by Ajas to cover the first 10 meter when his initial velocity was 0 to final velocity 4 meter per second, the time taken during the first part of the journey is 5 seconds, and then time taken for Ajas during the second part of the journey where his velocity is 4 meter per second, he maintains his constant velocity, is 22.5 seconds. So the question here is to find the time taken by Ajas to complete the race. So total time will be 5 plus 22.5. This is 27.5 seconds. That will be the final answer for the B part. Now, actually, we have to sketch on the same axis. A speed time graph for each child. I have considered only Ajas's case here, but we have to discuss about Beth, but that we will be doing. But initially, let's do the speed time graph for Ajas. So I'm just drawing a speed time graph here. And we know that the speed time graph will always be having speed on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. So they both were starting initially at rest. So this is only the Ajas case. Ajas was starting at rest. In the initial 5 seconds, he covered a distance of, his velocity was 4 meter per second. From zero, initial velocity was 0, and he reached a final velocity of 4 meter per second. So let's say this is 4 meter per second. So during the first 5 seconds, his velocity changed from 0 to 4 meter per second. And then he is maintaining the speed. He is maintaining this speed 4 meter per second until he crosses. And we know that he took 27.5 seconds to cross the finishing line. Now, let's go back and see what the second part is. Beth. Beth accelerates at 1 meter per second. So acceleration of Beth is given as 1 meter per second for t seconds. So the time taken is t seconds, and then maintains a constant speed until she crosses the finishing line. Ajas and Beth crosses the finish line at the same time. Now, the C part here, the C part is to find the value of t. So we will be finding the value of t by taking the case of Beth here. We can find out the final velocity or the velocity after t seconds for Beth. V is equals to u plus at. Now we know Beth was also initially at rest. Acceleration is given as 1 and time is given as capital T. 0 plus 1t, that will give you 1t or t. So the velocity of Beth is given as t, I'll say t meter per second. Now what's happening here? Beth is going to maintain this velocity until she crosses the finishing line. So now let's first find out during this time t seconds, from 0 to t seconds, what is the distance covered by Beth? So the distance covered by Beth, let's take the formula S is equal to ut plus half a t square. Now S is u 0, since u is 0, then ut will get cancelled. Half of a is 1 and t is capital T, so t square. So we'll be getting the value for S here. S is equals to t square by 2. T square by 2. So this is the distance traveled by Beth during the first t seconds. Now, what's happening? Beth is going to maintain this velocity, that is t meter per second, for the remaining part of the journey until she crosses the finishing line. Now, so for the if the velocity is constant, then we know that for the second part of the journey, it's simply distance is velocity into time. For the second part of the journey, the total distance Beth is covering is 100, and now she already covered t square by 2 in the first part of the journey. So for the second part, it will be 100 minus t square by 2, t square by 2, that is the distance that is remaining, for Beth, 100 minus t square by 2, and the velocity, she is maintaining this velocity, that is t, into what is the time remaining. So we know that they both crosses the finishing line at the same time, and the time taken by Ajas was 27.5, and she already covered t seconds now. So the remaining part of second part of the journey from 27.5 minus the first part, she already traveled t seconds. Now what we need to do is we just have to simplify this to get the value of t. We will be getting a quadratic equation. So once we solve that quadratic equation, we'll be getting the answer. Before that, I'll just draw a line here. Okay. Now 100 minus t square by 2, just taking only this part here, 100 minus t square by 2. Expanding the bracket, t into 27.5 is 27.5 t minus t into t is t square. So all the t square terms to one side, minus t square goes to the other side, becomes positive t square minus t square by 2 is equals to 27.5 t minus 100. 100 goes to the other side, becomes minus 100. T square minus t square by 2 will give you t square by 2 is equals to 27.5 t minus 100. You can just cross multiply this. You'll get t square is equals to 27.5 into 2 is 55t minus 2 into 100 is 200. Putting all the t terms to one side, t square minus 55t plus 200 is equals to 0. This is a quadratic equation. When you simplify this quadratic equation, you will be getting two values for t. The first value is more than 50. We'll not be considering because we know the total time taken by Ajas was 27.5. And the second time which we will be getting for t value is 3.915. 3.915 seconds. So we got the value for t. It is 3.915. Now we have to sketch the graph for Beth as well. Again, for Beth, she started from 0. Initial velocity was 0. T, so we know we got the t value as 3.915. 3.915. So in the first 3.915 seconds, her velocity was also 3.915. So we'll be getting a graph something like this. And then she maintains this constant speed until she crosses the finishing line. So this will be the graph for Beth, speed time graph. The first part is done. So first part was to find out sketch on the same axis speed time graph for each child. So that is done. Find the time taken by Ajas to complete the race. The time taken by Ajas, we already got the answer as 27.5 seconds. And then the third part was to find the value of t. So we found the value of t as well. We got it as 3.915 second. Now the last part here, find the difference in speed of the two children as they crosses the finish line. We know that here, Ajas, he maintains the speed 4 meters per second until he finishes until he crosses the finishing line. And then Beth, 3.915, and then she also maintains the same speed until she crosses the finishing line. So when they both cross the finishing line, Ajas was having 4 meters per second and Beth was having 3.915. The difference between them will be 4 minus 3.915, which will give you approximately 0.08, because 3.915 can be taken as 3.92. So 4 minus 3.92 will give you approximately 0.08 meter per second. So I hope you understood this question. If you have any doubt, let me know through the comment box. Thank you for watching.